Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 10 of Les Oderants. I am Dan and I am joined by the returning Fliss, as well as Ben and James. Everyone say hello. Yay! Yay!
No, we don't need to say hello, James. Everyone knows it's just Fliss, isn't it?
Hello.
Yeah. So you know, like they do this thing where if you're talking to children, you need to match their energy and stuff. And it's like James is like deliberately refusing to match Fliss's energy.
I'm so excited to be back, and James even said on the WhatsApp that he was excited for me to be back, but now he's like back, he's cool about it, he's like, whatever, Fliss.
This is James's excitement though, isn't it? This is James on like the app.
Well, you know, it's like when you have a really good friend or whatever, you can not see them for years, don't even fucking speak to them really, and then when you see them again, it's like you've never been apart, you know? So
you still hate them.
No, yeah. You still hate them, you still call them a cunt. It's
what fine. A cunt. Yeah. I mean, you can not see them for years and then it turns out they've set up some sort of Spanish communist cult called El Campo. That's weird. It makes no sense to anyone. Right, so Fliss, I reckon you've been listening to the podcast and shouting at us, "Come on, boys, spit spot," or whatever, stupid shit you say.
Spit spot is about the right phrase.
Yeah, come on. All right, have you got some notes for us on our performance? Have we been adequate without you?
First of fucking all.
The
gaslighting of Ben.
The gaslighting of Ben? Hang on, do you mean we have been gaslighting Ben, or Ben has been gaslighting us?
Ben has been gaslighting us for 3 years.
Yeah.
2 sprays to the wrist. 2 sprays to the wrist. What the fucking fuck?
I fucking agree. I 100% agree. It was like, who is this person? It's like some kind of weird sleeper agent has just been kind of pretending to be Ben and suddenly revealed themselves.
He knew that it was weird. Like when he said it, he was like, yeah. Like I snuck my way into this 3 years ago. They thought that I sprayed on my neck and on my fucking body and everything, but nope.
Just awful. It's like 2 sprays, and I listened to it. There's a scene in Amelie where she just melts into water and she becomes like a waterfall on the cafe floor. That's how I felt. I was just like, what the fucking fuck? My entire life flashed before my eyes. I drained, I went white, I went red, I went purple with rage.
Do you think this is maybe an overreaction? I mean, I'm just putting it out there.
I had to listen to it 3 times to believe.
I mean, I'm doing a public service, really, when you think about the perfumes that I tend to wear.
Yeah. I think that's probably, actually, I go with that. I think that is fair. These fucking vile-smelling things that you tend to favour. Yeah, I trust me, Fliss, we were as aghast as you.
Yeah. And then last week in particular, that was the real kicker for me, that whole flanker episode. It was like you mentioned Shalimar, someone mentioned Shalimar, and then you all just immediately moved on.
Yep.
You just moved on. And also nobody, and I'm surprised at James at this, nobody mentioned the fucking flanker fuckfest that is Little Black Dress.
Yeah.
Oh, the petty.
Why did you not mention it, James?
It's like hundreds and hundreds of all of those.
There is hundreds of them.
Flankers.
Yeah, that's true. The flank thing, we actually, I think, realised during when we were talking about it that it was so much bigger. To be honest, I gave it no thought. We were like, what are we doing this week? How can these sound? And then I just pulled a load of flankers literally out of my fucking arse, out of my cupboard here, and went,
no,
flankers.
Not literally out of your arse.
Okay.
Well, I think Gerland does that with Little Black Dress, so,
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean. It was kind of spontaneous, and then afterwards you go, oh yeah, actually, there's fucking loads of flankers, and that's why we need you. See, because you kind of you service the hardcore sort of fans and the femmes and the people who are into it like properly. We just go ooh and go on about fucking mainly like men's shit, really, don't we? And let's face it.
But you do go on about men, but then you also talked about Terre de Hermès Eau Givre, and no one said how shite it is.
Oh, I'm sure I said it was a disappointing flanker, but
it's more than disappointing. It's just
there is a new
comparison.
There is a new Terre de Hermès apparently, which is the. I think it's Eau de Parfum Intense or something it's called, but I read it's got like a licorice note and it smells more like Sauvage Elixir than anything else, so I'm going to have to try it, but it doesn't sound promising. But just on the point, well, 2 points actually. First one is that James never prepares for anything. He just likes to show up and fuck. That's what he does. He shows up and it's like, right, let's go. And this is all because he's the arbiter and he has this sort of, encyclopedic perfume knowledge. Ben and I do a modicum of preparation, and your little Miss fucking spreadsheet goody two shoes. So, there is a range of preparatory work goes on here. But the other point is that how are you surprised that Les Oderants didn't complete a topic properly? I mean, we have been doing this for like 3 years, 4 years maybe, right? And every time we do a discussion, we always get to the end. It's like, well, what did we learn here? Not a lot, really.
Yeah, and we need to have another discussion.
Yeah, we need to have another at some point in the future.
Sit down. You know when you say that in life, when you go, right, we all need to really sit down and like answer, and you never actually sit down and fucking do it, do you? So
we have to do it properly. Yeah, well, we have to do this properly.
I would be open for another fucking flanker episode. Because
fucking flankers.
I enjoyed it. There was some really great stuff, but there's these gaping holes, and I was just like screaming into the kitchen, going, you missed this. But that's cool.
The Shalimar one specifically, I remember mentioning Shalimar and then thinking like, actually, I've only smelt like one or two. I like the bottles. I can tell you the bottles look really pretty on all the flankers, but that's about it. So I just moved on. Yeah. But I've only smelt a couple. But I'm having really bad trouble getting over the image of James on an X Factor stage, like dancing around and then like popping a flanker out of his arse, and Simon Cowell going like, shock reaction from Simon Cowell. Like,
sort of dream imagery that we're all having about weird shit.
Well, yeah. Okay, so you said there was a gaping hole there, and someone actually wrote in to tell me they appreciated my description of Mr. Cologne 76, and I don't remember this, but apparently I called him a gaping asshole, which I think is, I stand by it, although I don't remember saying it. So what else, Fliss? What else would you like to pick us up on?
I think that was about it, to be honest. I mean, I've really missed not being with you, and I have shouted into the kitchen a lot of times, but I'm just happy to be here, so I don't want to really pick too many more holes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my advice is don't fucking have a go at us, mate, because we don't fucking need that shit.
You got 2 hours left.
Yeah, exactly.
You might never come back, so just shush, bitch.
Yeah. Exactly that. Right. Why?
I think really you're acknowledging that you like the hole was you, like not calling you a hole. No, let's backtrack.
I mean, basically, darling.
Yes. Okay, let me rephrase that.
Oh God. Right.
Okay. I won't.
She's off again. Shut up.
Are you good, Fliss? Are you good?
I am.
Yeah, forget it. Right, should we should record a pod. Oh no, fuck, we're recording.
We already are.
Yes. Hooray. Yes. I don't know what I was doing. I read some more reviews that people have written about Les Oderants. I don't know why, but I discovered that there's more reviews that weren't just the ones written on Apple, and somebody had given us a 1-star review and said that they didn't like all the swearing. Like, all right, fair enough.
They can fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you may be listening to the wrong podcast, mate. I mean, you know. But somebody else had said they didn't think the banter at the beginning of the show was very funny. And it's like, it's not really planned, mate, and we're not fucking... You know, we're not trying to make you laugh.
The banter at the beginning of the show is the show,
it's
really. It's 90% of it.
3 hours of just us talking shit, mate. I mean, that is the podcast. So, yeah. Good.
You must remember to get the writers of Friends in next time.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry, darling.
Yes, quite. So Fliss, what perfumes have you been wearing? Have you been wearing any perfumes in your extended sabbatical?
I've been wearing a lot of really comforting perfumes, obviously, but then because I was coming back, I made a distinct effort to sort my shit out, and I was trumping around on my desk because my desk was getting like really overwhelmed with all these not trumping in that way, no, I suppose galumphing about my desk, not trumping.
You're just making these words up. Galumphing.
No, galumphing. But I wore Esprit Libre by Divine, which was a sample sent to me by Jeanelle de Natalie, who is a lovely friend of the show. She listens regularly. And it's a Yann Vasnier, and it's 2021. And I've never smelt anything from this house, Divine, before. And she sent it to me because she... sent me a whole bunch of samples, and she said, I really love this one, and it's like a floral aquatic musk. It has a really lovely citrus top. There's a green mandarin, a bergamot, and it has violet leaf and iris. But the iris, and we were talking specifically about iris, which is why she sent it to me, the iris is really green and bright, and there's a lot of peony and magnolia in it, which gives it like a very transparent, watery feel. And there's an ambrette, which gives it a slightly spiky, fuzzy note. And it's ever so slightly beachy, which is why I think it's not quite for me. It's so good for spring in that kind of watery, aquatic, petally way. But there's a little thing about it that makes me think of beach work. And that's why I probably won't spring for a bottle. But I like it, but I don't love it. You know, that kind of thing.
Can I just say, I had complete faith in you, Fliss, that galumphing was a real word, and it is a real word. Damn.
Good, have you looked it up?
Yes, it's an adjective. It means moving in a clumsy, ponderous, or noisy manner, inelegant.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like me, but occasionally I do use it.
Weird. So,
what was that one called, Fliss?
It was called Esprit Libre by Divine. It's a house called Divine. I've never. I don't know anything by that house at all. It was a complete new thing for me.
Did you say Yann Vasnier?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Vasnier.
Funnily enough, I saw him on somebody's Essence post. Could it have been that brand? I don't know. Was it a new?
Maybe.
Was it a new sample? It was just him talking about this perfume that he'd made, and I don't think I've ever seen him before or seen him speaking or anything. And yeah, he was just talking about perfume that he'd made for a brand, but that was it. It just popped up, so I thought,
I'm looking him up right now because I have
now.
I know him as a perfumer.
The only perfume that I can think of him making, I mean, I know he's obviously made other ones and stuff, but he made Toy Boy, I think, the black Toy Boy, which is fantastic.
Embarrassingly, yeah, it's great.
But what's to be embarrassed about?
Other than that,
it's so cheapy, isn't it? It's like a big. Not that I'm embarrassed about loving cheapies, but there's just a lot about it I just think it's a bit naff. I think
there's everything about it is kind of naff. Well,
Yeah,
go on. James
it's
is
quite
about
adorable.
to reveal what perfume Jan Vasnier has done.
No,
that what you're about to do?
I'm still typing his name into into the Frag Places search. No, I'm a fuck using Frag
he
Place.
did Donna Karen Gold. I've just got this here. He did
It's
Donna
just
Karen
Frag Place.
Gold, which is amazing. He did Donna Karen Gold, which is
Donna
brilliant.
Karen Gold.
Yeah, it's
You sounded
And it's-
unimpressed. Oh yeah. Done fucking gold, have you, mate? Yeah. Not
He's done a
bothered.
load for Kaiko Mercury as well, which is a very nice house, under the radar. And he did Aldehyde 44 Dallas for
Oh,
Lemon.
yeah.
So, he's not... And he did a bunch for Marc Jacobs as well. He did Bang and
Bang. Did you bang? Did he do bang bang?
Bang and Bang Bang. He did Bang Bang as well.
That was
Yeah.
one, wasn't it? Bang bang.
Yeah,
It was
Bang
the
Bang.
Double bang.
Yeah. He's far from unprolific if you check him out.
Far
Yeah.
from unprolific. That's a very elegant turn of phrase there.
I do try.
It's a big.
Okay, what else have
He
you
did.
been
He
wearing?
did Plum Japanese
Did Plum-
and Santal Blush.
Oh, nice.
He did
Well,
Plum
Santal
Japanese.
Blush wasn't keen on, but Plum Japanese, very nice. Oh, good. Well, what else then, Fliss? Tell me about something else.
Because of James's just complete I don't know what to call it really. Just this opening of his heart and this pouring out. I tried M-XXX by Eris, and I tried it before a long time ago, and I've never had a bottle, but I've had little samples, and I recently asked for another sample in one of the groups, and someone sent it to me just to try it again. And you're right, James, it's bloody brilliant. It's really bloody brilliant. And it's kind of...
And for those who can't see James's face, he's making that, I fucking told you so face.
Of course it's fucking brilliant. No, do you know what? No, I'll honestly, I saw your post, and I thought, what a lovely little kind of glimpse into your sort of life, because that's you don't really do perfume reviews. They're more kind of personal little little, I don't know what you'd call them, just little
sort of noisettes or something.
Yes.
I don't know.
And I just thought that was a lovely post that you did, to be honest. So no, but what was nice
thank you.
is that our friend Barbara plugged it a couple of times, and I got a couple of followers and people who've gone, oh, this guy exists, let's look, and they've gone, oh god. Probably looked at some of my other posts and but no, it's a really wonderful, driven by ambergris perfume, I would suggest.
So driven by ambergris, and I'm not usually a big ambergris fan. Especially a lot of the kind of really more heavy marine stuff, I find it's just not my bag. Not my bag. But this I really liked. There's quite a lot of spices in it. There's an almost saddle leathery top to it. It's ever so slightly petrol-y when you first smell it on or first spritz it on, but then it kind of really softens very quickly. I find it, in terms of being a comforting scent, really similar to something like Bellem, which isn't surprising because it's Antoine Lee. But the castoreum and the natural ambergris in this make it much more animalic than Bellem, and obviously it hasn't got that huge orris note. And there's a lot of spices in it that come out more. And it's such a stupid kind of thing to say, but it really is like your skin but better. And you wear it and you have this little bubble. There's no huge sillage or whatever, but there's this bubble around you that is just warm and soft and slightly sexy, or slightly unwashed hair, or slightly skin-like, whatever you're finding it in the day. There's just a delicious... It has a mouthfeel. And I really, really like it.
No.
And I think that Eris is a completely standout brand in terms of indie at the moment. I think that the way that they don't release stuff regularly. They really consider what they're releasing. I just
Agreed.
I just love the brand.
Fantastic brand. Everything is solid. There's no releasing for the sake of it. There's no trying to keep up with trends. There's none of that. It's just pure what it should be. You know, there's a purity to that, and it's beautiful.
Really thoughtful brand. I think Barbara is. I mean, if you know her books or anything, you just know how thoughtful she is about what she's thinking about releasing, and her work with Antoine, I think is just second to none.
Was MXXX an Antoine fragrance? Has he done all of them for her?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, you get one more. As your
my last one is Edge Effects by St. Clair, which is Diane St. Clair, and Diane sent me a bunch of testers a while ago, and I've only just recently got round to having a little look at them. And Edge Effects is like a really bright green, juicy, fruity chypre. There's a real tart quality to the top of it, and I think, like with a lot of her work, it starts quite dense because she uses a lot of naturals, not all naturals, but she uses a lot of naturals, and it's quite dense. And when I first sprayed it on, I was like, oh, this is a lot. But the dry down, and this is the bit that I really loved wearing, I've worn it a couple of days in a row, is the dry down becomes incredibly fluffy and musky on me, and there's a lot of an oak moss feel, which makes it feel quite vintage in some ways, but the greenness of it all is very, very fresh still. And I think I haven't smelt anything by her because I've been just beginning to work through a lot of her samples. But this is the most juicy and fresh that I've smelt from her work, and I really like it. It's delicious, and it's herbal and fruity and all of those things that you expect from that kind of very natural work. But the dry down, I've really I wander around about, a couple of hours later, and I go, oh, that smells nice. Oh, it's me. That's always a lovely feeling, isn't it? When you smell yourself, when you turn back on your own path and you re-smell your own silage or sillage.
Yeah, well, so I have tried Casablanca, I think, by St. Clair, and I remember thinking that was an absolute headbanger of a perfume, and I feel like I probably have to get one of those at some point, but it's, I don't know, now I know what it smells. I do this weird thing where I tend to only buy stuff blind. Once I've sampled it, I kind of know what it smells like, and then I think, yeah, I'll probably pick that up at some point. It's stupid. I mean, that has to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and it came out of my own mouth, so that's a bit worrying. But yeah, so Casablanca is on the list.
Once you smelt something, though, it's like the magic's kind of started. It's a certain percentage of that magic of like the first time smelling it's gone, isn't it? So that's the appeal of blind buying, is you never quite know what it's going to be, and once you smell it, you go, oh, that was good, or oh, that was bad, and then you pop it on the shelf and blind buy something else.
More of a gambler.
Once you have quite a large collection as well, it's really hard to find something that smells new or that doesn't do something that something in your collection already does. So even if you smell something and you like it, if there's anything in your collection that's close, you're much less likely to purchase.
Oh yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. James, what have you been wearing this week other than my Mystery 7 box for you?
I wouldn't wear any of them. Fucking hell.
Not a one of them.
No.
Wow.
Well, we'll get to that afterwards. But no, I didn't. Do you know what? I thought to myself, surely I've got to wear one of these this week. But I just couldn't do it. Man. There's only one of them that I actually like. The rest, I think, are fucking atrocious. But anyway, sorry, I've given it away. I was supposed to not be saying about that until
it's all right. Well, I'll be interested to know which one you did like.
Okay.
But we'll get into that in part 2. So apart from those,
I've
which
been
you
wearing
haven't been
loads
wearing,
of
what have
the
you
flankers that I got out a fortnight ago.
Oh yeah,
because they were just lying around there. I was like, yeah, I've been wearing a lot of Hermes, so I've been wearing all the, because I think there was a discussion somewhere online or with Rich or somewhere where we were talking about Bellamy and the various, well, just those various different versions, like the Bellamy Vetiver, the Equipage Geranium, which I thought I had, but I don't. And then I was like, oh shit, I need to get that. And then I had a look, and it's discontinued, and the bottles are some stupid fucking price now. So I'm like,
oh no,
I'm not getting that. So yeah, I don't want to pay £300. This is the thing. I often go, yeah, I like that. I'll get that at some point, but do you know what I mean? You can't fucking get everything, can you? And you just think, oh, it'll be all right, I'll just wait, and then it's gone. So yeah, that's unfortunate. So Equipage Geranium, which is actually probably my favourite one of all those tweaks. And what else? Just the Santos de Cartier, that like plastic bottle one that I had. What else have I been wearing? Just loads of shit. Oh, I wore this the other day, the guilty Absolute, this kind of petrol-y one. It's fucking amazing. Now, the smell of this actually reminds me of this like green soap stuff that they use in tattoo shops. It's kind of antiseptic-y, it's kind of leathery. It's a very weird thing. But funnily enough, one of my mates actually approached me a few months ago and said, I want to make a tattoo product. And I went, oh yeah. And he's like, you're into all that shit, aren't you? You do like things and stuff. And I'm like,
yeah, that shit.
Yeah, I'm like, no, he knows I'm into fragrances, but he means on like the medical side of things, and you know, knowing what goes into fragrances and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I do. Anyway, it turns out he's managed to source this stuff for putting tattoo stencils on that is like the best. It's basically that gel that they use for doing ultrasounds. So we found some of that hasn't got any scent or fragrance or anything in it, and he wanted to make different scented ones, so he was asking me about that. And anyway, he's basically made some samples of this stuff, and it's been fucking very well received because it works very well, so it ticks a lot of like boxes, and it smells nice and stuff, and he's put like different colours in it and things. And anyway, no, I just thought that's what reminds me of like the smell of like tattooing, not fucking watermelon or, you know, grape soda or what like different flavours he wants to do. But yeah, so maybe that'll change.
The smell of tattooing is mostly blood and ink to me.
Yeah.
It's fucking
that kind of plasma, that sort of jizz that comes out of them.
Yeah.
Cortisol and pain.
Oh, fucking the sort of stinky sort of nastiness you get after a day or so is. It's not.
It feels good though, doesn't it? Like the endorphins and shit you get from getting a tattoo.
You've said this before. You said this before. You like it. I mean, I don't.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't like it. It's painful, but I mean, I had my elbows done, and fuck me, that was sore.
Yeah,
I mean, that was really sore. In fact, I've only had one elbow done, and it still needs fucking colouring in, as you can see. Fuck me, that was painful.
You want to try having your willy done, mate?
Childbirth. That's all I'm saying.
Get your willy done.
Had 2 kids. You can all fuck off.
Yeah, no, childbirth I can probably pass. Sorry, have you actually had your willy tattoo, James?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't, but I know plenty of people who have. Doesn't last very long on your willy.
Do you know what's really weird? I feel like we actually had this conversation on a previous episode. Well, that's how fucking depraved we are.
I think on the main bit of your willy it probably would, but I think like the bell end and stuff, like it sorry to get too graphic, folks, but like it rejuvenates. It's like your hands, it's like the palms of your hands, like having them tattooed.
Does it make a difference if you're circumcised?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I've never had any part of my dick tattooed, so...
I just want to double check. So, on the bell end of your dick and the palms of your hands, it doesn't last very long.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I'm aware of what it sounds
like.
That's good. It's fine.
I'm just wondering whether we have to cut this or whether... I think...
why start now, darlings? Really, why start now?
Exactly. It's not libelous, so that's good.
They don't like this band, so it's not funny,
personal
apparently.
Experience.
It's not fucking funny enough.
It's not intended to be funny. It's
1 star.
It's informative, that's what it is.
Give it a 1-star review and move on.
Yeah. I often forget that we're recording a podcast. I mean, it's just talking shit, isn't it? So, I saw that was it. You mentioned this before, James, and it was one of those clone brands. I think it was Thompson Carter or something, and they had like a faux podcast kind of set up.
They've done new ones. I've seen them, and I was about to make a video.
New one.
Yeah.
The guy going, I'm not joking. It's this girl. And guy off camera goes, what, the girl that had been ignoring you all night? Yeah. Honestly, magnetic. He was magnetic. And so, is this just like pure fucking incel bait or what? It's just absolute odious fucking shit. I mean, people have the audacity to give us 1 star while they're out there buying that fucking... honestly, awful. Any other fragrance-related nonsense, James,
Not really,
for you to share?
No.
All right, well, Ben, what have you been spraying 2 sprays of on your fucking right wrist like an absolute wrong-un this week?
So, and it is as well, 2 sprays.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to find you really hard to take seriously now.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work harder.
Look at his face. Looks like he's just been told off at school.
I'll try harder. I've been meandering my way through the Louis Vuittons, haven't I, for a while? Yeah. And I picked up 2 that I hadn't smelt before, and they were... One of them was good and one of them wasn't, and funnily enough it was the other way round from what I was expecting. So the one that was good, I was Spell on You, which is weird because Fliss was mentioning that other one earlier, like the iris and violet thing
around here.
and it reminded me a lot of what Fliss was saying. So it's a violet and iris heavy thing, but it's very delicate. Like the violet and iris is very like ethereal kind of sort of feel to it, and so it's like underscored by again a quite a soft watery rose, but it's very classical, smells very, you know, quote unquote old lady, but it's gorgeous. I love it. I thought it was really good, really soft, like I say, really watery, very
I wore it this week. I'm sorry, I was saying I was looking for looking for a sample of it, and I thought I've got that and a Trap Rev. And I thought it was the Attrap Rev that I'd worn, but no, it must have been Spell on You. And yeah, watery floral is exactly how I thought of it, and I fucking hated it. I can't believe you like it.
Oh, really? Well, so I've been wearing it to bed quite a lot, like, because it's really like comforting and like soft, and it's not like a big stinker, is it? So you just pop it on, it's quite comfortable. I
found it incredibly wishy-washy. Like, I mean, watery is the perfect sort of description for it. It just felt like it had no form, no sort of nothing. It was just a smell kind of thing.
Yeah, I think like I felt like the rose plays a really important role to like try and like anchor it a little bit, but the rose itself is still almost like a rose watery thing, so it's not quite strong enough to sort of like mount it, if you know what I mean. To ground it rather. Right. It's like I feel like they're trying to use the rose to ground it, but it's not quite strong enough, and so it still is that kind of like wishy-washy, watery, ethereal kind of thing. But I liked it. I thought it was nice. I'm not sure. That's how I instantly thought, oh, this is a nice one to wear in the evenings. Like, so get out the shower, pop that on, get all comfy. But like, Yeah, I liked it, but I can see the criticism.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think when I said I hated it, that may have been overstating the case somewhat, but I did not enjoy it. And the reason I got it, by the way, was I bought a bottle of Immensity, which had been...
Strikes again?
Yeah, strikes again. I used to have it. I sold it for reasons not quite clear in my head. I think it was probably when I was out of work and I was like, yeah, don't need that. Yeah, sure, I can get one of those again at some point. And so I bought another bottle and that arrived and it had the samples, and so that's how come I wore it. It's a bit of an odd one. Ben and I both wearing the same perfume, completely unfucking coordinated.
Yeah, and it's not like your everyday either.
And this is Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. So that was one of them.
You're saying like wish-wash and all this. The only ones I've tried, I just don't really get Louis Vuitton as a brand. I've not tried many of them. I need to spend a bit more time with them, but I get that some of them are those kind of a bit like the subtly like really good. Do you know what I mean? Like, but at first you might go,
bit disposable. A lot of them smell like on first impression, I think. But actually, they I don't know, they seem to have quite a nice covering, in terms of the range. They cover a lot of bases. But I actually did a Facebook post about this, I think last night, asking people what perfume had you worn the most in the last sort of 12 months. Not kind of like what's your favourite or anything, but just, what is it, what's the not your daily driver, but the most frequently worn. And I reckon, not scientifically calculated, but I reckon 2 Louis Vuittons, Nouveau Monde, and the other one that I can't now remember, Ombre Nomad. I reckon those are my 2 most worn perfumes the last 12 months. They are brilliant.
Nouveau Monde is phenomenal. It's really good.
I think they're both absolutely fucking brilliant. And I tried them both years ago and they didn't really do anything for me. But I don't know, recently there's been a kind of change of heart. And, they're a little bit rugged, I guess, a little bit rough, but still with that kind of Louis Vuitton polish. I think they are awesome, and I'm increasingly convinced that despite the fact that it's Louis Vuitton, I could probably live with just a small collection of Louis Vuitton perfumes and be a pretty happy kind of guy. I think
that's a lot coming from you, Dan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I say that. I mean, in practical terms, it would be difficult because I'd have to dispose of way too much stuff that I'm far too sort of emotionally sort of, bought into.
1,000 sales posts on my Facebook group. There's a lot to get through.
Yeah. But I think they have some really good stuff. What was the other Louis Vuitton, Ben?
Well, this one I was expecting a lot because it gets a lot of chatter. Pacific Chill.
Oh no,
it does.
Oh, it's awful.
And I thought it was rubbish. Yeah, I thought it was really bad. And what was worse was I thought it's basically like a citrusy and then a very watery fig sort of thing. But what I thought was really worse about it, or the most offensive thing about it, was that there's a lot of crossover with Sur La Route and Symphony, but Sur La Route and Symphony do it a lot better. And I thought, why is this even here? Like, why does this exist in this collection? Because, like you're saying, like I think it's a really robust collection. I think, like you say, it covers a lot of bases. It hits all the kind of things it needs to hit. And then you've got this like Pacific Chill, and it was like, well, where does this fit? It's I say there was too much crossover for me for other perfumes in their range that do the same thing but much better. Yeah. And I just spent the whole time I was wearing it thinking, why am I wearing this? Like if I wanted to, I'd just wear Sur La Route instead, which is so much better.
I'm sure it's meant to be. It takes some sort of inspiration from those health food sort of smoothie bar type things where like fucking spinach and kale blended smoothie bullshit.
Right.
And that's the sort of greenness. Sorry. So I think it's all about the LA.
It's a very green, watery fig
it's the
that
LA
I felt.
kind of healthy eating type scene. I thought it was. I remember it being quite minty and vegetal, and just thinking, it's like, it smells like a fucking smoothie. I don't really want to smell like that. But it's got such a nice, handsome bottle because it's green. It's a green bottle, so it's yummy. Yeah. This looks great. And a lot of the Louis Vuitton ones look fucking great. I paid a fucking fortune for a discontinued Sunspell. I sold it in like 24 hours because it was nice, but I mean, like, is it fuck worth 400 quid or whatever? It's but it was yellow. See, it's a nice yellow bottle. Got to have a yellow bottle. I don't know.
I love the Nuit de Feu bottle. Like, actually, all the darker ones, well, the Sable Roses is another one as well, where they look black, but you shine the light, and like the Nuit de Feu one's got kind of tinted green. Yeah. It's beautiful. They're a
very stylish brand, and they know what they're doing. But I mean, I think James is sort of right that a lot of them do have this kind of superficiality to them, but I don't know. You kind of wear them for a bit, and somehow they just kind of burrow under your skin, and
I kind of think.
I think Sur La Route is a really good candidate for what James said. Actually, in that when you first spray it, it feels unremarkable, but it's actually quite complex once you keep if you keep wearing it and keep sniffing it. It's got a lot more to it than just a citrus, which is, at first you feel like, oh, this is a big strong citrus like perfume, but there's so many more layers to it. But it's I think they're great. I think the whole collection's fucking brilliant. Like, since the very first collection, it was just Jacques Cavalier, wasn't it, that does it?
Yeah, and who's now had his name extended to include Bellatrude, is that right? Was he always Jacques Cavalier Bellatrude? Or was he hyphenated?
I wasn't aware, but
I don't know. That's now his name on Fragrantica, as far as I can tell. Fliss, sorry, you were going to say something there, and
I was going to say that I think that the Louis Vuitton stuff is, as you say, very stylish, and it fits in with the brand. But in as much as fitting in with the brand, there's something about Louis Vuitton that just kind of always niggles me, because it's like all of those bags, they're just lacquered canvas. And there's plenty of really beautiful handmade leather bags out there that you can get for a tenth of the price. And I think it's the same with the frags. I think they do come in beautiful bottles, but there's a lot of stuff out there that's incredibly similar, that is better in many respects, and it just doesn't cost as much. I just feel that a lot.
I mean, the brand itself is a bit shite.
It really is. It's so overpriced, and yes, it's all chic and whatever, but there's a huge.
It's not though. That's the thing. Like, so much of Louis Vuitton, without sounding like really pretentious, and
it's all like
it's very crass.
Ripped off in Bangkok or whatever.
The only thing that I actually own of Louis Vuitton that I would actually wear, I've got a pair of their skate shoes.
They're cool. I like those.
Yeah, and they're really cool, but like, I think that a lot of the brand is just crass, and
they're actually very well made as well, because I do follow a lot of sneaker people who chop them in half and stuff, and they're not worth like however much, like 700 quid or whatever they are, but as far as trainers go, they're very well constructed apparently. So just anybody.
They do beautiful candles as well, which are like in these gorgeous beautiful handmade ceramic pots that have like these little leather handles with the Louis Vuitton handle over the top, should you wish to transport your candle from the living room to the dining room to the bedroom, with a little leather handle which you can do it with. But at the same time, I just always feel as if there is a style over substance element to it, and however much you love the substance, you can buy better, cheaper. That's
I always
something that,
like. I'm always kind of all these brands. They all kind of have to copy each other because they're in fashion. So like whatever's in fashion, they kind of have to have their equivalent of that, like a t-shirt with a fucking dog on. Or I actually really liked this and thought it was brilliant. But they started making these shirts.
I've got a t-shirt with a dog on. You know that. I got like a couple of weeks ago. I got a t-shirt with a fucking dog on it. And I feel basically
that's
like
why I said
attacked.
it, you know,
personally attacked.
No,
oh right, did I wear it?
Well, no.
when we were
I
recording?
really like because like Givenchy did that one with the like a Rottweiler on for ages, didn't they? That was like that was their thing for a bit. It just means stupid.
No,
fucking.
mine's a rude one.
Oh, what, like it's shagging or with its lipstick out or something?
No. Rude is the brand. RH.
Wow, I went somewhere else with that. No,
yeah, of course
there
you
was
did.
there was a Louis Vuitton, which I think I took the piss out of it, but really I was like, actually, secretly, if that was like 40 quid, I'd probably buy it, but it's like $4,000. It was a kind of a t-shirt, and it just had like Muppets stitched to it. It was like a sweater, but just had Muppets like stitch. I mean, it was ridiculous. You see this kind of like tall sort of model wearing it, and it's like, mate, you've got like a little girl's like furry cowl on that's got Muppets literally just stitched all over it, just hanging like Muppets, just different fucking weird Muppets with like different hairdos and fucking heads and shit. And I was like, yeah, Louis Vuitton. But no, it's interesting what you said there, Fliss,
nice.
about the construction of things, because there are a lot of people who go, you know, what's so good about a Gucci wallet or a fucking... Well, the fact is, they say they're leather goods, but there's no leather, like you say. There's not really much leather there. There's a little bit of leather around the outside.
there's an amazing guy on YouTube that buys all of this stuff and rips it apart, and he's a fantastic...
Cuts it all up. He makes leather bags himself, doesn't he?
I think we all follow this same guy.
He cuts them all up.
To
and
be honest, yeah.
I think we do. He's a really amazing...
I don't. I don't know who this guy is.
He's an amazing kind of like leather atelier himself, but he buys all this like, you know, really supposedly high end designer stuff, and he rips it apart and he takes off the kind of the covering of all of this, like, kind of plastic covering of the leather, and he just basically says that this leather's shit, and then he goes to like a little tiny Italian brand that's only making, you know, however many bags a year, but like for 100 quid, and he's like, this is proper leather, and he just exposes it all and he lines it all up and says, actually, a Chanel bag is probably about 100 quid's worth of leather, and you're going to pay £5,000 for it.
I'm not saying that they're good value or anything, but at least Hermes don't do that. To my knowledge, they don't. Their leather goods really are leather goods. It's interesting, funnily enough, because I'm obsessed, right? I keep going on about this, right? And I've never done it in my life. I tried to do it in college, and they were like, you can't do it, basically. But I've always been interested in glassmaking, right? Really want to do glassmaking. Like, it's kind of like my final sort of like hobby that I want to get into in my life. I want to be like, right, I want to dedicate to it and like buy loads. I haven't done it yet, but I will do at some point. So I just want to like make stuff out of glass. And there's this guy that I've been like, I follow loads of like glassmakers and stuff, and the reality is that you can't just be a solo person. You have a whole gang of people that help you if you want to make any serious stuff. And he makes handbags, right? And it's blown up massively because like Doja Cat and all these people want these glass handbags that he makes, and they're fucking amazing. And he does like TikToks of him showing the whole process of him making them, and they are fucking spectacular, like how he does it. But it
doesn't sound very practical, a glass handbag.
Oh, you'd think. Now, it's funny you should say that, because he goes, hey, look, here's one of my glass handbags. Let's throw it out of a tree. So he climbs a tree and fucking launches it out of a tree, and it didn't break. So he's like, okay, they're pretty fucking strong.
What about having keys and like coins rattling around in it? Do people actually put shit in there?
I think if you're rich enough to have a glass handbag, you wouldn't have any coins. Keys in there,
where am I going to put my coppers?
in the car for you, wouldn't
I think I've got 14p in here.
They're going to like the Met.
I've probably got
the Oscars or something. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to be fucking.
I've got a Murray mint in the bottom here.
And anyway, so
God,
no, I
yeah.
just mean like that kind of artisan sort of stuff is interesting, and the fact that these brands think they can just stick a fucking name on it and people will pay it, and they will.
All of which is true, but I do think that the Louis Vuitton fragrances are genuinely really good, and they are expensive. I mean, but they're no worse than Creed.
No.
So, like, if
They could really take the piss, couldn't they?
But, I
they
mean,
could have gone,
price-wise-
right, we're Louis Vuitton, we're going to set ourselves like higher than Roger Dove, we're going to absolutely take the fucking piss. And they did, to be fair.
Exactly. Here's our £2,000 fragrance. And I think it is because what they're doing, what a lot of these brands do, is they're providing aspirational entry points for people into the brand at levels that they can probably afford, and 250 quid. So the range is basically I think there's 3 price points in the Louis Vuitton range. It's about 250 quid, 330 quid, and like 450 quid, I think, for the different 100 mils. And even at 450 quid, granted, it's a lot of money, right? I'm not going to pretend that's a cheap perfume. But when you compare that to Roger Dove, I mean, 450 quid for Roger Dove is fucking entry level, right?
Yeah.
And I think, these perfumes that Louis Vuitton do are by and large very, very good. They smell fantastic. They have a sort of almost a hidden complexity to a lot of them, and it's no big shocker that they are often cloned, mimicked, and copied. Because I do think they're very good.
So we've just brought up Roger Dove. Did we talk about this last week? I'm sorry if last episode, but I was aware of a post on Instagram. Now, I know he did bring this up in his book, but I think he felt the need to reiterate it, that Gabe, is he called like Oppenheimer?
Gabe Words.
Yeah.
Gabe Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that guy. He put up a post saying, thank God, finally, Roger Dove has kind of almost admitted to, he's given some credit, put it this way, to some of the perfumers who actually made his perfumes. Well, actually, he's not. He's given it to one. The young lad.
There'll be
what
more.
Do you think?
I think there will. I think he's backing out of the business, I don't think this, by the way, is some great altruistic move. I think he is getting the business ready to be sold so that he no longer has to be involved with it. Yeah. And obviously, if if people believe he's the perfumer, then he can't sell it because, oh shit, who's going to make the perfumes? Yeah. So what he's doing, I think, is probably slowly, over the next few releases, is going to phase in a bunch of other names who certainly, I mean, see him, fucking take me to court if that's a lie, right? But who have certainly been making these perfumes already for years, right? And now they're getting credit and sort of pushed to the fore. But I don't believe for a second that's an altruistic move. I think it's a purely pragmatic decision.
Because he probably wouldn't have...
in order to fucking sell the business.
He wouldn't have bullshitted about it in the first place, and then... Yeah, anyway. But Gabe's thing was interesting anyway, what he said. Clearly not a fan. And he said, I've spoken to...
No, but...
He kind of inferred in his post, I would say, the best way I can say it, is that some of the ones who haven't been credited are not very happy about it, or that they're kind of like, he's kind of brought this guy along, this young lad, and he's kind of showed him, and he's like, well, he's the sort of least deserving of praise, like some of the other ones should be getting praised who are not, etc.
I think he said in that post as well, he'd spoken with a woman who had made some of these perfumes for Roger, who had come close to agreeing to sort of be named and speak out on the issue, but had chosen not to out of fear, understandably, for her job. I was talking to the Duck about this as well, and he was now we weren't. Funnily enough, it wasn't Roger Dove we were talking about. I think we were talking about what's he called, MFK, Kierkegaard. But he was saying that
he's got a woman that he's just said is doing all his stuff with.
Yeah, exactly, right. And this was the point, I think, that Rich was making, which is that the way the industry works with these perfumers, and I don't know this to be true, right? So I'm sort of riffing a little bit, but essentially, as an established perfumer, you then take on kind of trainees or students, if you like, and they do a lot of your work under supervision. So you get to a certain point where you get all these grunts who basically, they use your name to develop and hone their skills. They produce stuff for you. You take the credit. You get paid. They get experience, quote unquote, and eventually they get to sort of move up a level. But it's a bit like a fucking giant Ponzi scheme, right, where you've just got this industry sucking all these poor fucking basically trained perfumers in, earning fuck all and getting no recognition or credit, and all the sort of recognition rolls up a level or two, and it's only after they've done this and served their time that they can then move on to the next level and take credit and become a perfumer in their own right. They've served their time basically, carrying water for other people.
Yeah.
There was that Jean-Claude Eleanor documentary, wasn't there? And you could actually see, like, in his studio, he had like 3 or 4 assistants with him there, and clearly, it's like, well, what are they doing? Like, they're not making the coffee. So, obviously, when you get to that kind of level, you have assistants, and
Then, how is that different to a lot of other creative industries? So if you think of someone like Damien Hirst, who openly admits that he had this huge factory where tons of kids come out of art school who were all painting the dots or all feeding the butterflies to go and feed on whatever fetid thing he'd put in a glass cabinet that week. He had these ideas, but he was not the one creating them. In the same way, if you look at someone like Michelangelo, hundreds of years ago, he, would finish off stuff. He'd make the big cartoon, the big sketch, but he didn't paint the whole of the fucking Sistine Chapel. He might have just filled in a couple of eyelashes here and there. But he wasn't doing the big stuff.
And I guess it all, the fairness of the system depends, I guess, on a few things. Mostly that, everyone passing through the system gets treated the same way. So, if the bottom line is you have to serve 5 years fucking, working for other people and getting not paid and not taking any credit, but after 5 years, don't worry, because someone else will work for you, and that's just how the fucking system works. If everyone gets treated the same as you move through the system, then you can sort of go, well, that's just the system. But also there is a question about who actually sets the strategic direction. Who is the decision maker? Is Kierkegaard, is he the guy saying, right, this is what I want you to do, big picture, I'm giving you direction, really hands-on, these are the things I want, and someone else is literally just taking his instruction and realising his vision? Or is someone else just doing all the fucking work and he's going, yeah, I like that, I'll fucking put my name on that, lovely? Because those are quite different scenarios.
Two different, very different things, aren't they?
It feels
then
like
you've also got the house on top of it as well, because you've got, if you're not working for your own house like Kierkegaard, but you're also doing other stuff for other people, then you've got Dior, who's also like the Patreon, has got their opinion of what they want as well. So it's really multi-layered.
It is. Right, I would like to talk about a perfume that I've enjoyed this week before we finish part 1. And it's a new one from Clive Christian. And it's funny, I saw...
A new one?
A new one.
Oh, is this one with the cool advertising that was like a bunch of toast?
I don't know, I haven't seen a bunch of toast. It's
it was like a bunch of toast on a plate, and then it had like a Clive Christian perfume next to it.
Possibly. Yeah, it might be because it's red tea vetiver. It's
that would be it. Yeah.
Well, the first thing about red tea vetiver is I saw an advert for it. I can't remember whether it had toast in it, but I clicked and looked at the comments, and I sort of wish I hadn't really. I mean, the comments on any Facebook perfume advert are absolutely sensational, but the top comment on it was someone had just written rubbish. Mancera are the best perfumes ever. What? Imagine that. Mancera the best Bobby Montel strikes back. It's probably Bobby like actually fucking churning out those.
No, it's someone who works for Bobby. He'll have a group of minions doing it for him, going and writing troll comments.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look, it is on a stack of toast. How odd!
Yes.
How odd! What a perfectly peculiar advert. It's a bottle of perfume
really
on a stack of white toast.
Doesn't really fit with the brand.
Not really. It is anyway.
I thought it was quite good. I thought it was quite edgy. I thought it was quite cool.
It's odd. It looks a bit like a ketchup bottle, but the perfume is very, very nice. It is. So I don't really know what red tea smells like, and it's almost like a pomegranate-y sort of. There's a sort of dryness to pomegranate. I guess maybe it's seeds or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but the smell of pomegranate has a sort of dryness to it, which is a bit like tea, I guess. And that's what I smell with this, on top of a very, very lovely, well-behaved vetiver. It's expensive for what it is, but it's a really nice, really sort of enjoyable fragrance, and I think Ben, particularly as a guy who can appreciate a delicate fragrance, a tea note, and likes vetiver, I think this might be a winner for you.
Yeah, I was just thinking it sounds good. I've got a couple of red tea fragrances actually, and I love them both. They're quite bitter.
Yeah.
Rooibos has got like a really, as you say, Dan, it's so dry, almost like if you sip it, it almost makes your tongue dry a little bit as well.
Yeah.
There is a totally, as you say, completely dry. It's very different to like a juicy breakfast tea or whatever. It's very tart and bitter and.
Did you just go?
I went.
Yeah, I listened to Danny Finkelstein on the radio, and I really like him, but he has this habit of going in the middle of sentences. It's really unsettling. Despite my South African heritage, I've never actually tried rooibos or rooibos, or however you even pronounce it. So that's nice. And then another one, I got sent the absolute fucking queen of PR is Mona Katan and her Kayali brand. I mean,
she loves you.
I think she loves the kids, because I mean, she keeps sending me this fucking nonsense, and I keep saying, I don't like it, but the kids loved it and they've taken it. But every time she sends it, they come with some weird fucking like thing. So the last one came with a pink silk sort of nightie, and this one has come with pink and gold cup and saucers. 2 of them.
That's quite nice.
I quite like that.
I showed my wife, and she's like, "Oh, I like those."
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So anyway, the perfume is like yet another sweet, floral, girly sort of thing that is absolutely no use to me at all, and has, of course, been requisitioned. It's been Bagsied by my youngest daughter, but she keeps saying, "Have you done your photo of it yet? Have you taken your photo for Instagram? As soon as you're taking your photo, I'd like it, please." And one last one to mention, just because I wore it this evening. I got sent this by an Italian brand called Napoleon, and it's a perfume called Daniel, which is obviously lovely and ideal for me. I sent Rich Mitch a sample of it because they included some samples, and I just sent him a sample with some other bits, and he was like, it sort of basically said, yeah, everything I sent him was shit, but that fucking loved that. So it's quite a I mean, it's a feels like a sort of fairly familiar riff on like Eau Sauvage, but maybe with quite a sour, almost like bitter, like orange rind kind of thing going on, and like a whiff of something herbal, like, I don't know, tarragon or something like that, which just makes it a little bit different. It's very old school, very classy. I really like it, and yeah.
According to Fragrantica, I'm not sure if this is even right, it says Daniel by Napoleon Fragrances, a citrus fragrance for men, launched in 1975.
Yeah, so this is a sort of reboot of that perfume. I don't know if it's the exact same perfume. I could believe this was, you know, similar to what they put out in 75, but I think Napoleon is like an Italian you know, clothing brand or something, so they've been knocking around for years, and they've got a few fragrances, and anyway, it's a sort of a surprisingly nice indie riff on, you know, something fairly well established. So those are my exciting perfumes. Who's excited about fucking giving me shit for the 7 perfumes I've sent, which I haven't explained, by the way. Yeah.
I mean, I know for sure there's even one in there that you hate. Like,
oh yeah, there's. I'm not disclosing how many of them I hate yet. Yeah, there's. I am genuinely interested in this because what I've done is try to find some perfumes that I'm like 99% sure none of you will have tried any of them before. I may be wrong on a couple. There's a couple. James may have some experiences of one or two of them. Anyway, so right, fuck it. Let's get the fuck into that in part 2. So yeah, this has been Les Oderants part 1, and we'll be back in just a few minutes with part 2. Stick with us. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Les Oderants. This week we are playing a silly game. It's a game that I actually picked up from Chris Fragmental when we did well, it was a couple of games combined, but basically he did is this designer or niche, and then he sort of took me through some review cheapies, and what I thought we'd do is a variation on that, where I would send some perfumes to you guys, and you had to tell me whether they were expensive or cheap. And I have sent 7 perfumes. I know what the 7 are. I am reasonably confident that not one of you will have tried any of them. And I'm also not telling you whether I love them or hate them. I can tell you within the 7 that I sent, there is at least one that I love, and there is at least one that I hate. There is also at least one which was very expensive, and there is at least one which was very cheap. So other than that, I leave it to you to figure it out. So given that they're all numbered, and I know what the numbering is, I want to ask Fliss, as our guest of honour, to pick one out at random, and let's talk about that. You know, whichever you want, we can talk about.
Can't we just talk about them in order? Isn't that easier? Like we all.
No,
yeah, we can do it in order.
No, I never suggest anything. I just go, yeah, that's fine. But like, is it not easier to go? Here's
you want to do that. You want to do them in order, don't you, babe? Let's do them. Let's do them in order.
It's too confusing
James.
otherwise.
It's okay.
You know, to be going back from 2 and then we go to 5 and fucking.
Oh right, this from the guy who did a full 14, like in reverse order, going, yeah, and then the day before, the day after, and then after that, the day before it was, yeah. Okay, let's just start with number 1 then. Fuck it. Oh, bloody. Right.
God.
Number 1. Right. Okay. Okay. Yes. I think, Fliss, we know your opinion on this.
I just think it's fucking awful shite. It's just this cheap vanilla blue. It's horrendous, gourmand, masculine scrubber. And I put it on my skin. I made the mistake of putting it on my skin, and then it just went a bit sweaty for a bit, but in a really generic shite way. I hate it so much. And what I hate most is that the next day it was still on my fucking skin, because, like, all awful scrubbers, you cannot fucking scrub them off, and it just sat there like a big pile of synthetic shite on my wrist, and I hate it so fucking much.
Okay, so dare I ask this question? Was it your least favourite of the lot?
Yes.
Oh, it was? Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's good, because it wasn't my least favourite of the lot, if I'm honest. But it was close. It was close. Ben, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I'd probably go along with mostly all of that. It reminded me a little bit, funnily enough, of the Royal Crown that I really like and that I bought off of Big Dave a little while back. But with sort of this like tropical fruit vibe. It has like Herba Pura sort of stamp on it, I felt like, but it horribly synthetic, sweet tropical fruit disaster. I don't know if we're sort of saying if we think it's expensive or cheap or whatever, but I have got an inkling that this is quite expensive, but I don't know.
I think you couldn't pay me enough to wear this for another.
It's got a Xerjoff vibe to it.
But do you think it retails for a lot or a little, Fliss?
Oh, well, I mean, I would like to say that it's a really cheap celebrity frag that's like 15 quid in Boots. But I'm probably wrong. But I cannot imagine it being anything other than some awful kind of K-pop frag.
James, what did you make of number 1?
Well, who's fucking disorganised now, motherfuckers? I've got notes that I made on these, right?
That is why you wanted to do them in order, because you'd written the notes in order and you couldn't be asked fucking jumping around.
I couldn't be asked crossing things out and whatever. No, what I wanted to do was spray them, immediately write down within the first like 20 seconds what I thought, and then think, oh, did anything change? Or when I smell it now, what am I thinking? And also listening to what you guys said. So immediately I just put cheap. Or at least it should be. Sickly lavender, tonka and white musk, fruity tropical top note. That was kind of it. It lasted like eternally on my skin. So I actually feel like it smells cheap, but there's something, especially like Ben just saying then, there's something of the like Xerjoff-y bullshit. This is going to be
that's how you know it's really cheap shit.
I think it
doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. If it was anything, any sort of money attached to it, it would be gone within 6 hours. But it's not.
I perhaps think the opposite,
there.
to be honest. I think that because it lasted for ages, I was like, I think this might be an expensive one. I don't think it smells expensive. I think it's shite. But I don't like it. It's kind of weirdly fougere-ish, but then it's got this fruity. It doesn't really know what it wants to be.
It feels like it really doesn't know. It doesn't have an identity. It's all over the market. It's
so generic. It's just awful.
Okay. If this perfume was a celebrity or a famous person,
Katie Price,
celebrity. Interesting.
I've got a feeling. I think this is an Aaron Terrence Hughes.
No, it's not.
You wouldn't have it in the house, would you?
Correct. I wouldn't, and I wouldn't play those fucking mind games with you. Okay.
I think if it was a celebrity, it would be the third runner-up in 5 seasons ago, Britain's Got Talent, and they're currently running Bournemouth at the moment,
right?
Possibly for Panto.
Nice. Okay, any thoughts on what sort of presentation you might get with a fragrance like this?
I want to say B&M Bargains worse than fucking Hello, but no, I think to be honest, I think this is going to be some Xerjoff fucking wooden box, fashioned by the fucking indigenous people of wherever.
Okay,
some bullshit.
So James, you're going with expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Ben,
expensive. Yeah.
Fliss, you're going with
cheapest fucking chips.
Okay, so this is a perfume called Alpha by a brand called Muharib, and I put a picture of this on my Instagram recently. It has a like a Roman soldier's.
Oh my god, it's that one!
Yeah, and it's a cheapie. So I think it's 40 quid for 100 ml.
That's
or
right.
something.
It should be. It fucking should be.
Yeah.
Well, it should be cheaper than that. I actually didn't find it as bad as you did, but I didn't like it because so I don't think it is intrinsically like a bad fragrance. It's intrinsically a cynical fragrance. It's designed, I mean, it's marketed at incels, right? It's a fragrance called Alpha. It's got a fucking Roman soldier's head on the fucking bottle. It's all gold. I mean, it's the Andrew Tate of fragrance, right? It's actually a sort of slightly slack-jawed fucking middle-aged nonce. But it's an awful. It's not an awful. It is awful. It's awful marketing. It's awfully cynical. I don't actually hate the scent, and I did send it to someone who said that they think it's a clone of one of the Torso, Lamal.
Yeah, Lamal. It definitely has Lamal vibes about it.
Yeah, so it's a clone of one of the recent Lamals, apparently. But yeah, cheapy, definitely cheapy. Definitely incel bait, and I think probably Fliss, you were the closest there, although a pretty unanimous disdain for Muharib Alpha.
I'm shocked that it has a Roman soldier's helmet as the cap, though. I've seen the bottle, I've seen it on your Instagram, and that's so male. But this to me smells like it's kind of like a weak ass kind of just.
Can we just go back to my notes? And I did say cheap as the first word that I said. I think Ben nobbled me and had me fucking
all bases covered.
So
all bases covered.
Of course,
I like
of course.
Okay. So that was interesting. I mean, I think I was not surprised that you didn't like it, though, that no one liked it. But maybe number 2 is going to be a bit more interesting. I don't know. Ben, kick us off with number 2. What do you reckon about this?
My first thoughts are cheap, generic, Middle Eastern sort of knockoff brand that you get in your corner shop.
Wow.
You can smell, for starters, the thing that I think puts me in that path is I felt like that telltale synthetic oud base that a lot of those perfumes use.
So you don't think that's a real oud?
I didn't think so, because there's not enough nuance. It feels too clinical and it feels too clean. But I think, if I can remember, I can't remember all of these, but I remember telling you on the group chat, like the one thing that we mentioned was one of them is either a cheap generic oud or some Spirit of Dubai thing. So it could be either. But I think that oud note is like a synthetic cheap I don't know now.
So I thought, Ben, that you might quite like this one. I wasn't sure that anybody else would, but I thought you might quite.
It's not bad. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. I'd wear it.
I think it's amazing.
Really?
I think it is.
It's amazingly
really,
bad.
No, I think it's really, really, really nice. I think it's very Dubai. I think, as Ben says, there's a very generic Dubai, kind of almost like Western, slightly clinical oud about it. But I think in terms of the rest of the lineup that you sent us, I think it's not groundbreaking, but it's remarkably solid. And I think it smells expensive. I wouldn't wear it myself, but I would happily sit next to someone else who was wearing it. And I think that for me, this is the nicest of the 7.
Oh, wow. Interesting. James,
right, let's consult the notes.
What do you think, James? Let's see what the arbiter says.
Oud rose, ton of the saffron, patchouli. Again, should be probably cheap, but hang on a minute. Hang on. The rose smells quite real to me. So maybe it's expensive. Now, this for me,
this is the most expensive one.
You are going to have to actually get off the fucking fence, mate. It can't be both. I said it was cheap.
I said it was. No, but I'll commit. I'll make a decision. That's what I'm doing. I'm putting it out there. I actually think, right, that the whole idea of this is a little bit formulaic. It's a little bit, by the numbers. We know that these things are complementary. Definitely, like say, just quite a saffron-y, sort of more on the leathery kind of side. And I genuinely think the rose accord, whatever's in here, smells quite real to me. Like it smells like rose otto or some kind of like real thing. And if it isn't, hey, well, it's pretty fucking good. Do I like it? Not particularly, to be honest, but I don't hate it, and I did have it on my skin, and it lasted a long time. Didn't just go down to shitty kind of aroma chemical. It kind of smelled sort of like this throughout. So I'm going to go with expensive. Like I say, it's not hugely groundbreaking or anything, but it smells like one of those kind of, to be honest, I don't get much oud really from it particularly, but we say it's an oud rose because that's the category that it's in. But I'd say it's more kind of a saffron-y leather, to be honest, but with a nice rose note. So yeah, I'm going to go expensive.
Okay. All right. So you're going expensive. Ben, what was your final thought on that?
So listening to James, and now I'm thinking, but I'm still going to go. I'm going to go with my first gut, and that was that it was cheap.
Okay.
Interestingly, Jess disagreed with me on this one because I've got Jess's down here as well, and she said that this was expensive.
And
but I'm going to stick with my first gut and say cheap.
Okay.
I think it's expensive. I think it's the second most expensive one that you've given us.
Ooh. So, this is an interesting one because I didn't know whether to categorise it as expensive or cheap. This is a brand that was in Harrods, where they sold for something like £300. But I bought it in TK Maxx for £19.99.
Wow.
Because the brand basically tanked, as far as I can tell, and all the stock was just shuffled off to Harrods. And it is by a brand called Wilgermain, and it's called Bois Barbère. It's by Rodrigo Flores Roux, the perfume. And James, you were bang on with the notes: saffron, rose, oud. There's nutmeg, incense, and a bit of smoke as well. But yeah, it's essentially a saffron rose oud perfume. I really like it, actually. I really like it. And at £20, so I don't know whether to call it a cheapie or an expensive one, because it was originally conceived as an expensive perfume, but I can see why no one paid 300 quid for it. I think 20 quid is an absolute fucking steal. steal.
For 20 quid,
It's an absolute steal.
you get an extremely good perfume there. There's no way. I've got some fucking ones that were 20 quid that are like, from like Arabic brands and stuff in there that are just 20 quid, just naturally, and they don't smell as good as that.
I think it's a superb perfume as well. I think for me the rose oud. Rose oud is like a really well trodden fucking route, and even rose oud and saffron is a fairly sort of standard combo, I guess. But this manages to smell sort of. It doesn't make any sense, but it almost feels fougere-like to me in a weird way. It's got a sort of... it feels like a sort of lavender. There's no lavender in it, but it's got that sort of feel to it. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed that perfume, and I just think for 20 quid it's an absolute fucking no-brainer. You can get them on eBay still. People obviously bought them at TK Maxx and are sort of price gouging, but you can get them for about 50 quid on eBay, and even at that price I think it's a pretty decent value. So what? People seem to broadly like that one. No hatred.
I did.
Yeah, it was not bad.
James, was that the one you disliked the least?
No.
Looking for his
No, it wasn't.
No. Oh, there's one you like more than that. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I think I might be able to guess which it is. Okay, all right. Well, moving swiftly on to number 3 then, because we're having to do this in tediously fucking linear order. Number 3, James.
Hang on.
Kick us off with number 3.
Got any Veras? I'm just skinning up, lads. Come on. No, I'm not really. I'm just making my little thing to spray on. Talk amongst yourselves, it's fine. No, I've done it now.
Talk amongst ourselves.
Right, let me get the fucking, I'm not very organised here. Look at this shit.
You made notes.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty good. And I've got the actual samples. I haven't misplaced them or something. Gone. They'll be gone. They'll be gone now. Then.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it goes with that.
Right, there we go. Okay, right. I'll just go off what I said originally. It's got that kind of woody sort of note, but it's more like MDF. You know that aisle in B&Q where they cut all the big fucking bits of plywood board for you?
Yeah.
It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. Instinct upon spraying, expensive. Now, I didn't say that because I especially like it or think that it should be expensive in that kind of twatty way where you go, some cunt will be fucking trying to get some ridiculous price for this. I said it's lightly smoky, dry woods, dry down smells a bit weak and meek, so I'm not really a fan. It wasn't doing much for me on skin, but it's not a bad sort of woody, slightly woody perfume. There you go.
Not a bad, slightly woody perfume. High praise indeed. Okay. Fliss.
I thought it has a very sort of peppery citrus opening. It feels really, really modern. It dries down to something relatively nice. For me, it has that kind of Avastan vibe. You know that Avastan perfume, with that brutalist bottle. I think it feels quite minimalist. It has that aroma chemical, cool, minimalist feel. But because of that, I can't work out if it's expensive or not. It could very well be expensive in a posh bottle, or it could just be cool, like Avastan, but not too expensive. But it has that, for me, it really encapsulates that Avastan feeling. You could easily see someone like Uniqlo selling it, or it could also be at Dover Street Market. Ridiculously overpriced. I'm not sure.
Okay. What I was amazed about with this whole selection is that nothing really, really screamed quality. Like, not one particularly. So if we're having this conversation about, what makes something quality, or do you think that it's quality because you know about the brand or where it's coming from, or you have expectations before you smell it? There wasn't really anything there that I immediately went, yes, I know that that's expensive and that's really good quality and stuff. Again, spoiler.
Okay. I think that's absolutely fine.
Well, because Fliss brings up that it could be this trendy brand, and it is totally that kind of like, there's something so like, it's not really trying very hard. It's not like the first one is trying to do everything like that it could possibly do to like give it some pressure. This is more kind of aloof. It's a bit more like, I don't give a fuck if you like me or not. Somebody's going to be into this shit, and they'll probably be quite cool, and have a little beard and a fucking beanie hat, and be quite fucking hipstery,
Okay, Ben.
I love it.
Hey, there he is.
Do you know what, Ben? Right, Ben. Do you know what I said? I thought there would be one that you really liked.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one. I thought this has got Ben written all over it.
It's quite avant-garde, I think, and immediately I instantly thought this must be expensive. But again, not because of the way it smells, but just because the way it's such an avant-garde. It's such a weird perfume. Is it patchouli that has that like rubbery element to it? Because it smells a bit rubbery. And that made me think it's patchouli, maybe. But
the green pepper is listed on the opening notes, which I think is as well as pink pepper and black pepper. So definitely a lot of pepper going on.
Peppery opening.
And I think the Avastan connection is spot on. And I'm actually rather tickled by, this kind of description of it as being a sort of hipster, trendy brand. It's neither particularly expensive nor particularly cheap. It sort of falls between two stools in that regard. But it most certainly is a hipster brand. So it's this, which is Off-White Solution number 8. So, that's definitely fits it.
Wow.
That's better because from everything I've heard about Off-White is that their perfumes were shite, but this is exactly what I would hope Off-White perfumes smelt like.
Exactly. Off-White started their range with 4 perfumes, which were a little bit pedestrian.
Yes,
One of them actually was very nice, a sort of tangerine jelly sort of smell. I think that was number 2. But the other 3 were, they were all a little bit dreary. But they've released a second range. They just continued the numbering. So I think they go up to 10 maybe now. So they're all called Solution, Number, whatever. And they come with these sort of funky bottles with the kind of mad-looking industrial sort of screw cap. It's all rather cool. But this is number 8. And I think they retail for about 90 quid for 50 ml.
That's expensive.
Expensive-ish. I got it on eBay for like 30, I think. 30 quid for 50 ml. And I just blind bought it because I quite fancied trying it, and I thought the notes sounded fun. It is a bit Avastan-y. Definitely, it's a bit Avastan-y in both the fragrance itself and also the styling of the brand. That hipster sort of thing. And what's really nice about the way you've all sort of characterised that is that you sort of clearly have associated it with a trendy brand. This is a cool perfume. Whether it's a nice perfume is kind of by the by, but it's definitely something that's trying to be cool. And I think it's really rather satisfying that you kind of pick that up without knowing anything at all about the perfume. I think Ben, you're right. What that does is it sort of says, yeah, the brand have got their shit together with this one. They have actually delivered. I'm pleased with that. And
I'm going to go and buy it tomorrow instantly because, like, for 90 quid, I think this is a brilliant perfume.
I knew you would like it. I absolutely knew because the pepperiness and the incense and patchouli of it all definitely kind of
So in my notes, I wrote that I thought it was expensive, but I fucking hope it's cheap. And,
Nice. Oh, that's really good. So finally, we found something someone really enjoys. Good. James, this was not your most preferred of the bunch.
No. I don't dislike.
Okay.
Like I say, it's okay, and it's interesting to hear that it kind of is in that space that we kind of figured it would be. So
yeah. I really like this complete blind read and stuff, and I'm not, I think I'm not trying to trip anyone up by getting them to fucking list notes and stuff, but more just tell me do you like it, and how, what does it remind you of, that kind of stuff, and the fact that you all sort of go, yeah, cool designer brand, very peppery, very avant-garde, love that. That's great.
Our services are available to brands if they want to.
yeah perfume consultations.
10 grand.
Someone wrote to me the other day saying that they were offering perfume consultations and they were going to be charging $10 for a perfume consultation, where someone would basically, people would fill in a questionnaire and then this guy would tell them what perfume to wear. And they were saying, if you can sort of direct sales to me, you can have 40% of every sale. So basically, some guy I don't know is going to recommend you perfumes that I don't know using my name, for which I get $4. This sounds like a fucking terrible business model. So I politely declined.
I'll do it.
Wow. Fuck it, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll be fucking good at it too. Right. Number 4 then. We back to Fliss. Fliss, tell me all about number 4.
Oh, I've written pretty poor nondescript blue thing. It wouldn't surprise me if it had sport in the name. As we all know how I feel about that. The dry down is so fucking generic.
Wow.
And it's not a scrubber because there's so little to scrub. It just
goodness,
out of nowhere. And I just really was just a bit like blech.
Wow.
Just didn't really do anything for me. It's just really nondescript and boring and
amazing.
Not my thing at all.
Masculine? Feminine?
Masculine. Yeah,
cheap,
blue.
Expensive?
I mean, I think it's quite weak and cheap.
Okay.
If you could surprise me and say it was expensive, but I found it very watery and thin, and it's absolutely not my thing at all.
Modern, vintage,
fairly modern. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Fairly.
Okay. Ben.
So it smells like a soapy barbershop that someone was wearing whilst they're brushing their teeth. There's like a watery, minty vibe to it. Yeah. And funnily enough, I think the soapy barbershop part of it feels cheap, but the minty side of it, to me, then throws me for a loop and makes me think perhaps it's actually expensive, because it gives it like a textural depth that it otherwise wouldn't have.
Modern? Vintage?
I think it's modern. I think it's definitely modern. Yeah. I think it's like blisteringly modern. But I don't know. I think it might be expensive.
Hear James making these noises.
Go on, James.
Okay, Ben. Is it expensive or cheap?
Sorry, I can't.
I think it's expensive. I think it shouldn't be, but I think it is.
And modern. Okay. Yeah. Right, James.
Best one of the fucking 7 by a country mile.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Quality as well.
I knew this would be the
vintage.
I knew
it's
this
vintage.
would be your one.
It's fucking vintage, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, thank you.
Is it?
1984.
Right.
1984.
It's spectacularly good, right? It's a bit weak on the skin. It didn't last very long on me, but I fucking love it. I love that addition of that geranium, which is perfect Ben saying brushing your teeth while you've got this kind of, it's got like this little minty geranium little pop to it, but generally it is a sort of kind of generic spicy 80s men's sort of like vibe to it, but it is quite airy, and it's got like that slight matey bubble bath sort of like thing to it as well. I really like it like better than anything else that you gave, and to me it's clearly a vintage perfume, but expensive. I don't know. Do you mean now, like buying a bottle now? Because every vintage perfume is fucking expensive. Was it expensive at the time? Probably not. It's probably just a regular thing, but is expensive now.
Still in production. Yeah,
hey.
Still in production.
Wow.
And as far as I know, broadly unchanged. That is a modern bottle. And it's a cheapie. It cost me 25 quid.
Fucking hell, I'm getting me 25 quid out. I want one of them.
It is a perfume, and I was sort of hoping you hadn't tried this. I wasn't sure whether you had, but it's by a brand called Enrico Coveri. And it's called Enrico Coveri pour homme. Enrico Coveri.
I don't know it.
Weirdly,
I don't know.
It weirdly has the name at the beginning and the end. It's Enrico Coveri pour homme, Enrico Coveri.
I mean, the lasting power of it is rubbish. Like, it died on my skin.
Oh, it's like
it died on my skin.
That's weird, because I find it actually reasonably good, you know. I mean, it's not like a sort of powerhouse thing, but I found overall, I found the performance pretty decent, and I really like this one. This is probably arguably my second favourite of the whole lot that I sent you. We've yet to hit the one. My absolute favourite and my absolute least favourite, they're coming up. But so James, this is the one you liked, yeah?
It is, yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
There's one that is total dog shit that's actually offensive, right? There's one that is so bad it can fuck off. And whoever's made this, right? I'm gonna hammer him for weeks on end about this because it's that bad.
Oh God!
Right.
Do you want to just tell me the number of that one now?
No, we'll let it be a surprise.
Oh God! Right. Well, this is all going incredibly badly.
I don't think it's going brilliantly. I'm having the time of my life.
Good. Well, I'm glad someone is. Okay. So what number was that? That was number
4.
Okay. So we've got 3 more. All right. So number 5, Ben.
So in my initial notes, I've written down cheap, but I'm spraying it now. I don't think so. I think this is fucking expensive. And the reason I say that, there's like a clear like oud accord that again smells like it could be synthetic oud accord, but there's a musty, velvety smokiness to it that makes me think if that's the oud, that's expensive.
Right.
But it's a sort of tart, fruity rose and oud. But there's a muskiness, like a musty, velvety sort of textural smokiness underneath it that makes me think that maybe this is expensive. I don't know, but it's.
Do you like?
Smell? Yes, I do. It smells a little generic, and it smells a little bit like, oh, here we go, we've got a rose and oud here, like a Middle Eastern rose and oud or something. But there's that almost like musty carpet that I quite like. There's a sort of like an old dusty musty carpet underneath that makes me think
dusty musty carpet. Yeah, don't know if dusty musty carpet is actually a thing, but James,
if galumphing is a thing, then dusty musty carpet is a thing.
Fair. No, that is absolutely fair. Yeah, James, is this the one that can fuck off into the stratosphere?
No, you can't. You can't hate this. I mean, you know,
no.
Right, I'll put what.
Could you love it?
I mean, okay.
Could anyone love this perfume?
Raspberry kind of berry sort of booze, right? Which is extremely pink and just like quite nauseatingly sweet. I've put in my thing expensive, gourmand, rose, patchouli, musks, amber, vanilla woods, yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd stick to that. Like, say, I quite like that sort of whatever that kind of raspberry sort of accord is in the opening. I don't hate it. I don't really like it. I suspect it's expensive. Just a guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not lacking depth. But again, it's just not particularly for me. But I don't hate it.
Okay, interesting. Fliss.
I've said that this is much better territory than number 4. It's not quite that crowd pleasing banger that is number 2, but it is. I think it is more nuanced. I think it's.
I can't remember what number 2 was now.
Number 2.
Oh, that was the Wilgermain one. Yeah,
the Wilgermain one. I think it's spicy. It has that lovely berry fruity. It's a bit sweet. I think it's very classy. I think this is the most expensive one you sent us.
Interesting.
It's not for me, but I think it is. I think it's the most expensive one you've sent us.
Okay. James, would you agree it's the most expensive? Would you not? You're not sure?
I don't know. I think it's expensive though. But the most.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Don't know. Okay, Ben.
But I think I'm going with expensive.
Yeah,
Have you got off the? All right.
Yeah, no, I think it's expensive. Have you got off
the fence?
Yeah, I think it's expensive.
It is expensive, and in fact, it is the most expensive of the ones I've sent you, and it is arguably in my top 10 favourite perfumes of all time. It is Armani Queer Majest. Which now everyone's running to look up. But
Is
Armani
that what
Queer
it
Majest is dried fruits, incense and osmanthus, leather, may rose, tobacco, oud, vanilla, moss and broxon.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's really... that musty carpet is great, and I think it might be tobacco that's making me think stuffy musty carpet. Yeah. But yeah, that's lovely. I love that mustiness to it underneath. So it's almost textural, like velvet almost. Yeah, I'll
go with that. I think this is just. I mean, wearing this perfume, and I do wear it quite frequently. It's just, for me, it's an absolute joy. It's it feels like a serious perfume with a personality rather than like a fun perfume kind of thing. It is quite serious. It's quite austere in some ways, but it's got just like a sort of, I guess, a bit of playfulness to it.
It's
I really like
much less obvious. So that one that you sent us that was £300 in Harrods, but then you picked it up for in Take Home Extra, that Wilgermain, that to me smelled really obviously expensive. It smelled like a mall in Dubai. This smells expensive, but it has a lot more nuance, and it feels like there's a personality behind it. It's not that kind of obvious over your head rose oud stuff. It's just it's a perfume you would choose to wear because you love it, as opposed to because it's just expensive and that's what you think people should wear.
I mean, it's the perfumer is actually a perfumer that I don't know much about, but it's Veronique Nyberg. And she has a whopping 112 perfumes on to her name. But I think Queer Majest is probably the only one I own. Oh no, she also did Leda 6 for Schwarzlose, which makes sense because they're very, very similar perfumes. I love that. I love that one. Just as a sort of brief interlude, I meant to mention in part 1, apropos of nothing at all really, but I picked up a bottle last week of Ted Lapidus, This is the Tedlopedus Porom or whatever. Oh my fucking god. That has to be one of the most horrific perfumes I've ever tried. Just awful. And I don't know, someone had said that it was like similar to Balenciaga Porom. There is no connection between those perfumes. Just kind of none. It was fucking horrific. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that. Right. Number 6. James, is this the one you hated more than any other perfume in the entire universe?
No.
He's lost his microphone.
Hang on a sec. I'm trying not to
No.
eat fucking snacks.
Oh my god.
On the microphone. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So by a process of elimination,
rather rule out.
Narrow it down a little bit.
Okay. Good. Okay. So, interesting. Tell me, what did you make of this?
Sorry. Sorry, guys. Cheap as cheap can be. I know it's bad.
Okay.
It basically smells like a kind of soapy musk, cool water-esque, slightly like fucking Versace blue jeans or some kind of shit. It's got that slight food air, but like, I mean, I kind of weirdly like it. It's got like the like dihydromercenol, like cheap vanilla. Do you know what I mean? There's something kind of still slightly endearing about it, even though when I was saying about like Matey Bubble Bath, when I was like praising that other one, this has that vibe, but it's a little bit more fucking like acrid. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't hate it. I can't hate on this, but don't tell me this is expensive. If this is fucking expensive, you're a tit if you bought that. And frankly, I'm sorry, Dan,
don't worry, James. I don't think that's the most offensive thing you're going to say to me today.
Well, tell me that this was a B&M Bargains fucking £3 a bottle job, and I'll go, fine, no problem. But if it's any more than that, fucking hell.
Ben.
Oh, it's heinous. It's absolutely heinous. It's horrid. It's that sort of weird tropical fruit musky thing is just repulsive. It's for a while I thought it might be that disgusting Middle Eastern Herba Pura clone that I sent you.
No.
I can't remember if did I actually end up sending that to you as a
I don't think you did. No.
Oh right.
But it got lost in the post.
But it was just the best thing for it, to be honest. But no, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's got to be cheap. It has to be cheap. If it's horrible tropical fruit musky nonsense.
Cheap or expensive?
Cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. Fliss. Gag reflex on.
I wrote 2 sentences. I said, dull blue shower gel shite. Yet again my vagina dies.
You can only die once.
It's dying
vagina
again.
Can't die every day.
It is a pussy.
Well, if you had to smell this, it's got 9 lives.
It's the James Bond of fucking...
Absolute. Just.
Okay. So, when I first sprayed this, I liked it, and I thought, it's really nice. And then after about an hour, I was like, I fucking hate this. It's awful. And of all the perfumes, this is the one that I despise the most by some way. It is a cheapie. So you're all on the money on that, and it's by a brand called Ahmed Al Maghribi, and the perfume is called Calf. It cost, I think, 18 quid on eBay, and it's horrible, absolutely fucking horrible. It's superficially nice. It's got that sort of soapy blue thing to it, and I was like, yeah, this is
like Psychopaths.
This is all right. Yeah, I quite like it. Yeah,
superficial charm,
exactly.
But actually, is a right bastard underneath.
It's an absolute wrong one. Someone somewhere had said that they thought it might be a clone of Percival, which is itself a clone of Abercrombie and Fitch Fierce, and it doesn't smell much like either of those things to me. It's just it smells like
Lynx.
Exactly. It smells like Lynx. It smells like teenage fucking over-applied Lynx to cover up bad bodily odour. You know, it's like, it's meant to smell fresh and clean, but it smells fresh and clean in exactly the way that an actual fresh and clean shower doesn't. It smells like it's like it's concealing some sort of festering, like, wank sock fucking awfulness, and
that's exactly what it's doing.
Yeah. So no, I went through a range of emotions on this. I went from loving it to just fucking hating it. So yeah, Kaf Ahmed Al Maghribi. Right, have we been round the horn? So we're back to you, Fliss. Back to you, Fliss, for number 7.
Let me just spray again, because it's actually gone off my strip. I sprayed it at the break, and it's already disappeared off my strip.
I hope everyone hates this as much as I do.
It's just... It smells like a sort of a spicy generic vanilla. There's a lot of... Oh, it smells a bit like sort of like bug spray or room spray. And then it goes a bit biscuity, and I mean, it's not as awful as the number 6, but it's not nice. It's not good at all. I feel like there's a real acrid top to it that sort of has to burn off, and then when it's burnt off, it's very boring and dull, and then it poofs into nothing. I don't know why people would pay money for this.
Okay, interesting. Ben?
It smells a bit like a bag of Haribo, or if you were to sniff like the bottle of like an orangeade or something. Like,
smelling the bottle of orangeade is exactly what it's like. That kind of acrid, the orange colouring, synthetic colouring.
But also the sparkly, that kind of dry, sparkly of like sparkling water as well. That bitter element of sparkling water, but. Yeah, like a big bag of Haribo or a fizzy drink or something, like orangeade or something. I don't hate it. I don't like it, but I don't have quite the
don't like it.
I think 6 is far worse.
I think 6 is the worst, arguably one of the worst things on the planet. Yeah.
I think it's cheap.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's cheap. Again, it feels like it's got a patchouli undertone to it that could trick me into thinking this is actually expensive, but it's...
Oh, if you're being had, if you pay.
Yeah, but I think it's cheap and it smells a bit disastrous. I don't have the repellent sort of reaction to it that Fliss has, but it's not nice. It's really like Fliss. It's almost gone off my strip, and I only sprayed it when we started this section, so it's lasted like 5 minutes.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was middle of the road expensive, kind of like that mid price. It's above designer expensive, I think.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I think whoever's buying it is being had. Whoever's buying it is being had. That's what I mean.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Whoever's buying it, whoever owns this and was able to send samples out, is a fucking tit.
Yeah. Right.
No, I just.
For the second time,
I just feel like
you're a tit.
Yeah. I think it's going to get much worse, James. But go on, let's hear your assessment.
No, do you know what? I went a bit overboard smelling it again. Okay, when I first smelled it, I was like, no, fuck off. I still think that, right? So, what it actually smells like, and this is to a T. I've got a Gillette shaving foam that I've probably had fucking years, right? And obviously I like shave my head and stuff. I don't really shave my face very often, but that residual Gillette shaving foam is actually what it smells like. What annoyed me about it was that when I first sprayed it, it smelled like that shitty perfumer's alcohol that you get that's not proper alcohol, that the, you know, like good quality stuff that they would actually use in a commercial perfume, which immediately made me think, this is an indie, right? I thought that this was an indie or self-trained perfumer, because it's not very good, right? It's not very good. And it's very sort of faint. It's almost nondescript, right? Which is the kind of one of the worst crimes that you could have. It's kind of a bit of a just mess of kind of, like I say, a soapy, slightly maybe lean something. But I genuinely, if that is expensive, wow, it's crap. It doesn't last particularly long on the skin, and if it's an indie, I'm like, fair enough, you've created something here, but it's bad. Go back to the drawing board. And what's the other option? If it's cheap, I would say even avoid it in fucking B&M stores. Yeah, so I don't like it, no. And that's weird, because I don't actually mind that Gillette shave foam smell, and I'm associated with that. But if I want it as a perfume, no. I'd rather wear Lynx, man. Because Lynx have got some good smelling stuff. This is shite.
Would you like to know who this one is by?
Yes, please. Yes, we would.
Please. So this is by a British brand called Soma Perfumes, and it is Cirrus.
Wow.
And the reason I did this...
Awkward, bro.
No. This is awful. It's totally awkward moment.
So the reason I did this was because I wanted to get your unfiltered opinions on it, and boy, did I get them. So no, that's fine.
God!
That's fine. My soul crushed, my ego in tatters. I can take it. I knew this was likely to happen, and to be honest, I considered sending one of the ones which arguably would be quote unquote higher quality, but I thought, do you know what? I like Cirrus, and I'm not going to apologise for that. So I thought.
Have you not sent that before?
No, I don't think.
Because the ones that you sent before, I don't remember this one.
Well, I may have done a long time ago.
I think you did a long time ago. And, not that I remember.
Well, it's no, it's possible. But yeah, I deliberately didn't want to mention that any of them were mine, because I knew that would bias your opinion, and I am nothing if not committed to honesty. So,
well, can I congratulate you first of all on your bravery, because I mean that is like off the record. Anybody who ever says anything about any of us shilling, I mean, the fact that you've dared do that is amazing.
I've been shitting myself all week about this, but
also I think also what's really amazing as well for me is then I've really felt the gut punch of going, oh my God, I've really said something awful about a perfume for someone that I love, and so that makes me think about how badly when I'm slagging off other stuff, I think, well, do you know what I mean? That's a real step back for me to think that, oh God, I was happy to slag it off, but now it's Dan's bag. I'm like, so that's awful.
So don't worry about that. I'm not in the least bit offended. I've been dishing out fucking criticism about perfumes for kind of 10-15 years. So I'm perfectly sort of capable of taking it as well, and if I wasn't, I wouldn't have done this if I couldn't handle that. But I did think that it would not be a hit with any of you, actually. But it's interesting, James, that you say shaving foam, because that was part of the brief, right? Was that I wanted it to be a shaving foam style fragrance. and we had a few versions of it, and I quite like the fruitiness with the shaving foamness of it, and there is a sort of lavender in the middle. It's a sort of slightly, I think, a kind of slightly mentholated, kind of almost cooling lavender, again along that shaving foam sort of line. For me, Cirrus is actually one of my favourites of all the Soma parfums, but I had no expectations of what you should
take from this, Dan, is that I hate your perfumes, whether they're yours or not, whether I know that they're yours or not. So I just smelled them blind and went, load of shite. So really what you can take from that is I'm not just slagging them off because they're yours. So
that is brilliant.
That'd be pretty heartening,
great about that.
Fucking heartwarming stuff on the podcast right now.
Have you? Yeah, heartwarming. Have you considered an alternative career in spin, perhaps? Like,
I have, funnily enough. Wouldn't surprise you that I have.
Pretty good attempt at spin.
I'm really curious now, and I'm not sure you'd really want to go into this on the podcast anyway, but where this fits into the Soma brand, though, like, and how well it sells compared to the others and things like that. Because to me, this feels like an outlier.
It doesn't.
Because I've smelt the others, and this doesn't feel like it sits like an outlier of them. When we did, so this was part of the second group of perfumes, so I think we've done like 3 or 4 sort of small kind of collections, but this was one of the second ones, and at the same time did one called Nocturne, and Nocturne and Cirrus were based on very similar sort of a core, but Nocturne had a bit of that sort of ethyl maltol kind of sweetness to it, which made that plus the fruity sort of notes were emphasised more in the overall mix. And Nocturne we discontinued because we did sell them all, and then it was slow going, so we decided not to bother making a sort of second batch. Cirrus sold reasonably well, and then we made a second batch, and we've still got some left, and probably we won't bother making another one after this, because it is fairly slow going. I mean, almost all of our sales in Soma are Halcyon and Halcyon Oud, almost, to almost the exclusion of everything else. The others do sell bits and bobs here and there, but typically it's those two. Those two between them sell more than everything else combined, full stop. I'm not sure it's an outlier in terms of anything else other than just sales volumes are kind of slowish, but then they're slowish across most of the range. In fairness, we don't do any advertising at all for Soma, like none, and so the sales just kind of tick along quietly. A lot of people buy repeat stuff, so a lot of our customers are people coming back for a second or third bottle and stuff, which is cool. I'm sort of content with that. I'm also I'm genuinely quite relaxed about the feedback, right? I know from bitter experience that you can't please all the people all the time, and I didn't want to put James in a position where, or indeed any of you, where you felt that you had to somehow, go easy on them or go easy on it because it was mine. No, I know you. Well, I think you probably would. I would really. I think you would a little bit, even though I know you are brutal and honest in all ways. But I think if you knew it was mine, I think you'd be inclined to soft pedal your criticism a bit. Possibly. You might say you didn't like it, but you might soft pedal it. So the fact that you were so brutal about it, I quite enjoyed that in a perverse kind of, humiliating sort of way. I stuck that in. I did consider sneaking more of my stuff in, but it wasn't really. This wasn't really about Soma and getting my stuff in. I think if you'd
snuck more in, we might have guessed.
The gig might have been rumbled. Yeah. Okay. So James, your favourite was the Enrico Caveri, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and your least favourite was the Soma. That's fine. Fliss, your favourite was?
I think my favourite was the Armani Queer Majeste, and my least favourite was the CAF.
Yeah. Yep. Ben, favourite, least favourite?
Favourite was the Off-White number 3, then 5, then
number
funny
8.
enough.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Off-White number 8.
3, but it's called Solution number 8.
Solution number 8.
Number 3 on the list.
Then the Queer Majeste. Then, funny enough, the Soma. Then the others were just repellent, like absolutely repellent. And I think they all kind of sat on a level of being gross. But probably number 6 would be the absolute worst one for me.
I think so. And for me, the CAF. It's just that kind of disgusting kind of scent masking kind of perfume. It's like, if you're a dirty, sweaty twat, spray this on you and you won't smell as bad. And it's got that kind of vibe to it. And it starts off like superficially like charming, but is actually a total cunt. So,
do you know what?
Yeah,
going back to the Queer Majeste, was it?
Yeah.
Very tobacco-y now.
The Armani.
Very tobacco-y.
Yeah.
Which again, I didn't really detect at the time. But it definitely is now. It's dried down on me Rizzler. On me Rizzler. So I think that is for 50 ml. I think it's about
400 quid.
Something like that. 280, 300.
Is it in those Privé bottles?
I think they've changed
with the like pebble lid.
Well, it was an odd one because it was a Harrods exclusive, so they only did it historically in 2 sizes. They did it in 250 ml or 50 ml. So I got a 250 ml bottle, which I think was £600 or something. But they've recently released a 100 ml bottle. Yes, it's in the Privé sort of line, that styling. But yeah, I think that's an absolutely just staggeringly enjoyable perfume to wear. Always makes me sort of smile. Yeah. The CAF is vile. I'm sort of. It's the Andrew Tatey sort of smelling one. The Alpha, Muharib Alpha. So that was number 1. I didn't hate the perfume, but it was a bit like what's that fucking robot one? The Paco one that. It's
I know the one.
Phantom, I think. Yeah, and it smells like fucking. They've taken the top 10 hits of the last kind of decade and just sort of rolled them all into one and shoved them through an AI and say, make me something that's got all the characteristics of this. Like I want Brad Pitt's fucking hair, and I want Johnny Depp's eyes or whatever, and it's kind of built this kind of this.
Photo fit
Frankenstein sort of monster. Photo fit. And it doesn't work, but it's so blatantly marketed at incels that I think there is a cynicism to all of that, which I actually rather dislike way more than I dislike the perfume itself. The perfume smells like a pleasant enough smell. It's a bit jumbled up. It's the worst thing I could say about it. But I think that incel bait marketing for me is deeply cynical and actually rather unpleasant. But I love the Enrico Caveri, which I think James, that was
the one I liked.
Was that your favourite? Yeah, that was the one you like. Yeah, I love that. I think it's got such a classic sort of old school. And listening to you guys, I mean, particularly Fliss and Ben say it was like modern. I was like, really? This smells as fucking vintage as vintage can be to me. It's like it's everything old school.
You know what made me think it was modern was that it's quite airy and sort of, if I was to put a colour on it, it would be white, if you like, and like that glacial kind of vibe. And that to me was I just felt it had that, like, you know, glass and chrome modern
I know what you
edge
mean,
to it,
because a lot of people kind of think, like, before sort of, I know Jean-Claude Alain has been going since, you know, like the 70s or whatever, but generally speaking, that those kind of airy or aquatic or like more diffusive kind of perfumes are associated with modern things, whereas like there's a density to like old perfumes. So I get from that perspective, because it is quite light, but in terms of the actual smell, it's quite old hat stuff, even though I was like, yeah, I fucking love this. But I do like mossy, I do like geranium, that slightly mintiness of it. I thought I really enjoyed that. And what's he called? Enrico what?
Enrico Caveri. Coveri. Yeah, as we were going through that, and James, you were checking that I wasn't such a twat, that I owned these fragrances, and I think I said to you, yeah, don't worry, I think you're going to get more offensive. So I can sense this one coming. Don't worry. This is definitely not the most offensive thing you will say to me tonight. Anyway, right, well, look, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it's a great way of smelling perfumes and giving honest feedback. And, I think when people do blind reads, often it's like... there's often like a sort of trying to fucking show off how much you know, or trying to catch someone out with it. There's a sort of whole subtext thing going on. And what I liked about this was just the raw honesty of all of them. I mean, sometimes that honesty was quite a little bit too raw for me, you know. And, no, it honestly is absolutely fucking fine. You're just all cunts. I'm going to go and cry now. I'm not going to cry. Don't worry.
I mean, if it's any consolation, if I split them in half and had these are the ones I'd buy and these are the ones I wouldn't, it would go in the ones I'd buy. You know. Yeah,
I mean, under duress. I mean, I think James's words were, "If you bought this, you're a fucking twat." It's James. It's worse than that. It's worse than I bought it.
If you started a brand and you created this, you should be thoroughly ashamed of yourself.
What a cunt you'd have to be. Right, okay, listen, let's wrap it up. Fliss, it's been wonderful to have you back. And, obviously...
Even if I slagged off your frag.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
It's been wonderful to have you back, but you're not welcome again.
You're not coming anymore.
I'm looking forward to the break. No. It has been wonderful to have you back. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I think as a format, it worked really well. And maybe one of you wants to do some samples, and we can do just a sort of blind assessment of it. No need to fucking send me Soma ones back. Don't worry, I know what they smell like. I'm trying to trip me up. Hang on, this one smells like one of mine. No, it's been great, and I don't really know what else to say. I'm so fucking.
I've really enjoyed being back, and I am still reeling from the gut punch. But I'm also really impressed, and really, really impressed that you did it, Dan.
Well,
because as a team, we come under a lot of criticism sometimes for what we say and you just went in into some sort of gladiatorial combat and let us all just do it. And that's I think that is absolutely putting your money where your mouth
basically
is. And that is really impressive.
I stuck my balls out and fucking held a sign that said, "Please kick here," which it's.
But I think it's also really important, because it means that anybody that when we are, we can be aggressively rude about frags. you now can hold your head up and say, "Don't worry, guys. They said it about mine too." You know?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll edit that whole section out. You know, what I'll do is I'll remove certain words from James's speech, so it'll say, "This was the greatest perfume I ever shaving gel tried. It was amazing." It might sound a little bit jumbled, but definitely honest. No, fuck it. I wanted to do it, and I've been sort of looking forward to that all week. I knew it wouldn't be a popular one with you, because I knew, Fliss, it was definitely not your style.
No, it's not my style at all.
And I think for Ben, it's probably a bit too middle of the road, and I sort of figured that James would just hate it. So this was not unexpected either. I largely did it just to see your faces when I told you. But there is an interesting thing there. About, well, you know, do you feel guilty? And
I feel fucking terrible.
Don't.
Me too. I feel awful.
So you should, you fucking cunts. No, obviously, the point about that is not, do you feel guilty about me? But would that, do you think, change the way you review or discuss or describe perfumes in future? I mean, I wouldn't want it to. You know, this place is like a sort of a last refuge for honesty in the fragrance discussion. You know, the whole online fragrance review sort of thing. It's so sort of bitten by kind of bullshittery and lies. I wouldn't want to change a single thing about any of you in the way you review that stuff. But if it feels like you've hurt someone, right? Does that want, which you haven't, by the way? Don't worry, I'm more skin than that. But if you felt, because like clearly, Fliss, you're quite empathetic, you know.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about all of that right now, and I'm thinking, where do I draw the line between enjoying the fact that sometimes we can be quite brutal, and there is a lot of banter about the way that we review stuff, and but there's also a fantastic honesty, and I get so bored of, I know that you did the episode about influencers, and I get so bored of people who just think that everything's lovely and everything's nice, and they have got no opinion. And at the end of, and I was also talking to Tom from the Sentius today about Luca Turin, and saying, you know, despite the fact that he's still brutal, I still really love him, and I know that I don't even agree with him half the time, but I still love his brutality. But I still love that brutality, you know. And people listen to us because we're brutal sometimes too, and I'm just trying to. I'm still processing that line between where is the brutality of entertainment and where is hurting your friend and where is hurting a complete stranger. You know, that's really a curious thing that I'm going to have to go away and have a think about. And I'm still applauding you for even doing it, Dan. And I think that's no, but I think you've really brought up a really fantastic point about really where we actually choose to sit. And I'm curious. I haven't made a decision yet. I'm still, as I say, I'm still processing.
Well, you can reflect on that. You can reflect on that. But look. You know, I thank you all for your honest feedback. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, James?
I've got to say that anybody that takes something to heart that I say or that I think we say on here, really, like they shouldn't, right? Because. At the end of the day, well, and not only this, but think about this, that my thoughts and my kind of just getting things off my chest are very much in the moment, right? So, and potentially I can change, and I can think that something is, you know, I can be a bit hyperbolic about something being terrible, and then actually go back to and go, well, it's not that bad, and blah, blah, blah. You know, so there's more nuance there, there's more just things just said for effect. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that they're false. I just mean that they're in that moment and you feel like saying them, or you just do, and then all of a sudden you start to reevaluate, and that's what it's all about. So I wouldn't want anybody to take me too seriously at my word, but by the same rule, I'm pretty consistent overall with what I do say about things that I like and don't like, and reasons why. One thing that does annoy me that about my own critique, or if I was to pull punches with somebody, it would be someone that I knew I was crushing their fucking dreams. And if they were like an indie perfumer or something, they were like, oh, look at all this stuff that I've done and blah blah blah, and then you get me going, what a load of shite, you might as well give up, stick it in the fucking bin. Do you know what I mean? I do mean that, right? But I would hate the thought that it would upset somebody. I genuinely would, because I am a fucking big softie, really, right? And it would upset me. And also, I'd like to talk to them. I'd like to be like, well, why? Let's talk about what it is. And it's not that I'm saying I'm any better. You know what I mean? It's that, like, just the reasons for why somebody's doing something are really important, and all the background stuff that they put in. So I think, again, I'm just exclusively talking about indie sort of perfumers here at the moment, and people who try and do it themselves, who come up with stuff that's really crap. Because let's face it, even the stuff that's bad and whatever, it's still, to a certain point, it doesn't smell like fucking vomit, or, you know what I mean? It doesn't smell like something disgusting. It smells like something that's supposed to be nice, but just isn't very good, and, you know, might be a bit cloying or annoying or whatever. So it's not that it's bad, it's that it's just, I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm just trying to say that I'm probably not, I wouldn't like the thought of upsetting somebody, especially if they were just a sound person with good intentions who are just trying to do something, and they think, oh wow, that guy's being a dick for no reason. No, it isn't. I'm very much in my own space where I'm just saying things and don't really think about the consequences, right? But if the consequences are right there in your face and you're seeing the effect it has on somebody, then maybe, yes, I would maybe slightly pull my punches or whatever. So it's quite good to do things blind, or, you know, in a super fucking objective way, because you can get, you know, real to the crux of the truth kind of thing.
So a friend of mine had on his auto signature on his email, it said, please think of the trees before printing this email. Was anything I said that important anyway? And I think that's the case with all of us. You know, none of us are important, and what we say doesn't really matter a great deal. Ben, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, on that, I mean, I always think, like, you know, I can be quite harsh, but I mean, my taste is so narrow, really, you know, in terms of the things that I love.
Ben, sorry, you wear 2 sprays of perfume on one wrist. No,
anything I say is not. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Inadmissible.
Exactly. So yeah, like what I say is probably, you know, it's so personal that it doesn't matter anyway. But yeah, I thought it was great. I love doing the 7 that we didn't know and having to guess, because it makes you start second guessing your own sort of like quote unquote knowledge or prejudices. Yeah, because you start, you know, when you say, is this expensive or cheap, and you're sitting there thinking, fuck, now I'm not sure. Like almost every single one, I felt like I'd be much more happier to have just sat there and gone, oh, I'm on the fence. You know, actually having to make a decision is quite hard.
I think we've done better than most sommeliers would do if they had a blind testing.
Actually, I would. I think you're right, James. I think on balance, you know, you did well. You know, you were all pretty sort of on the money about whether things were expensive or cheap for the most part. And particularly, I thought the assessment of the off-white one was just absolutely glorious, the way you'd all sort of gone in for, yeah, this is like a sort of trendy fucking brand that you'd maybe see at fucking whatever that market.
It was so funny with James,
Dover Street Market,
just like laid it up for me to come in and say, yeah, I'm going to buy this, because he's like, yeah, oh, this is some hipster in a beanie, and I'm like, yeah, that's me.
yeah. Perfect. Right,
but you know, if we do it again, I'd love to send you guys 7, and if you want, I'll slip in one that I've made. And then you can't tell us that. Well, you might not know. It might be so wonderful that you'll be like,
I might not do it. I might do it, might not.
Who knows?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Fliss, final thoughts?
Oh, it's just been lovely to be back. It's so lovely to see your fucking cunty little faces. I had the best time.
Right. Well, I mean, for our regular listeners, you'll be able to catch our fucking lovely cunty little faces again in 2 weeks' time, where the rest of the team will be crushing my dreams yet again, I'm sure. So... until then, we've been Les Oderants, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Until then, bye!
Bye.
Bye.